Well, man, this is the review that almost...
Alright, so I kind of screwed this up a little bit. This review should have come out like months ago. Like I say in the title, this is not the AMD review you're looking for. This is the review of a Radeon VII GPU. Wait, don't go anywhere just yet. There is still some important information to be gained from this. Now, let me just explain what happened. First, Radeon 7s were like impossible to get at the beginning. Radeon 7, add to cart. What the f? Then, once I was finally able to order one, my package didn't show up because they left it outside in a city.
What the f?
Once I got a replacement, I got all sorts of sick and stuff, and I like hurt my back.
What the f?
And then, once all of those excuses ran out, I just kind of forgot. Hey, and before I get into this game, I just want to remind you to check out my video. What the f? I mean, I was supposed to send this card to Epos Vox, so he could review it and test it out for a whole bunch of different stuff that he wanted to do, and I never got around to that. And for that, Epos, I apologize. If you still want it, just like slide into my DMs or something, I'll still send it your way. I've got other cards I could use for the interim. But, like I said, I know two things. Number one, there is still some information to be gained from this. And number two, I really like cold opens. So, since I'm filming this intro on the eve of Ryzen 2 being launched, live from New York, it's Saturday. What? Don't do it. Copyright. I'm just not that Oh, what the f? So thanks for hanging around. So like I said, there are a lot of good things that can come from this review coming out a little late. RTX Super came out, and we can compare this to RTX Super. Navi's coming out tomorrow, and we can extrapolate where this goes from there. And additionally, I have retested with some updated drivers, so we can see how that affects things. We're going to hop right into my old review now, but we'll take a look after that with the new drivers and my current thoughts based on where everything is right now. So enjoy the review, and stick around if you're here for this long till the end, and we'll talk about some more stuff after the break.
Hello, Internet. My name is Matt, aka Matlock, and I'm a tech enthusiast, streamer, and way too old architecture student. After all that fun from my intro, I am now the proud owner of this Radeon 7. I've been wanting to get into this realm of reviewing for a long time, so let's discuss my initial thoughts. Unboxing. Unboxing. AMD, I know what you're going for here, and I know that you're hardly the only manufacturer to do this, but wow, when you've seen the unboxing embargo videos and reviewer experiences, you can't help but be let down when you open a retail box that doesn't include awesome display stands or AI robot engraved wood or really just something other than the card. I mean, seriously, this didn't even come with a proper instruction booklet. Can't we do a little better here? Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that this is all important, but I feel that after a great Threadripper retail packaging, and admittedly good, consistent packaging design for NVIDIA and Intel, AMD can seriously up the ante here. Perhaps that's my ignorance though, and if you buy direct from AMD, you'll get a better experience. If that's the case, let me know in the comments below. Ignoring that serious disappointment, let's talk about the design of the actual card. Now, as I said, I'm an architecture and design student, so my thoughts on GPU aesthetics may be a little more opinionated than most. My packaging thoughts probably are. That being said, in my opinion, this thing is downright beautiful, with a few caveats I'll touch on in a second. Clean lines and a matte silver finish with polished accents look great on a GPU. Its modern linear/boxy aesthetic may not be for everyone, but it certainly works for me.
These
Plain beefy cooling fins and additional linear gravitas, while the triple fan setup is a nice contrast. Not that you can find a square fan most anywhere. AMD's been nailing it with the overall industrial design since the RX 480 in my humble opinion, and that trend continues straight throughout. As for those caveats mentioned earlier, I wish that this acrylic was clear, lit by RGB, as opposed to static crimson, but I understand Team Red's branding here. And that branding, this Radeon is way too big AMD. I personally think that the Radeon R cube in the corner is plenty identifiable, dare I say iconic from when it was released with the original Vega series. Imagine what this card would look like with just a glowing Radeon R in the corner. What could have been. Additionally, as has been stated by numerous other reviewers, removing this branding would likely open up a bunch more airflow as well, which would hopefully improve temps and tune down a slightly aggressive fan curve. And of note, even though AMD moved down to a 7nm process size, this card still has the same TDP as the Vega 64, so additional airflow would be welcome. Now that we've discussed the looks of this card, let's shift our focus onto how it works. I tested this against two cards, a Sapphire Vega 64 and an Asus ROG 2080 OC, loaned very kindly from my little cousin. Check out his channel link below. All cards were tested on my personal rig, which has a 2700X on an Asus Crosshair 6 Extreme and 32 gigs of 3200 MHz RAM. I used the latest drivers as of mid-February and tried to use standard benchmarks wherever possible. 3 quick notes before I throw a bunch of numbers on the screen for you to look at though. 1. Man, that Final Fantasy benchmark is really messed up. I'm including the results because, well, I took the time to test it. But after not being able to make heads nor tails of the numbers, I did some digging and Googling. This whole benchmark is royally borked. Take the numbers with a grain of salt, and I won't be including them in future testing. 2. For Apex Legends, I tested using 5 minutes of gameplay at 10 tests per setting. I then averaged these tests to give you the numbers that you'll see. Apex's FPS is obviously largely reliant on how many people have dropped around you, but as you'll see from the numbers, there's really not too much to be concerned with here, with any of the cards. 3. This is a reference GPU compared against 2 aftermarket GPUs. From what I can gain, the Nitro Plus performs about 5 to 8% better than the stock Vega, and the ROG is about 4 to 5% better than the stock 2080. Okay, with that knowledge, here are some numbers for you to see. Alright, so as you can see, the Radeon VII trades some blows and holds up in real-world tests. But in all of the synthetics it lags, sometimes drastically behind the 2080. The fact of the matter is that this kind of power, you're probably not going to notice a difference from 130 to 134 FPS, but I completely understand wanting to get the most power out of your money. I did not include productivity numbers here, but I did do some testing myself. As I said earlier, I'm an architecture student, so I have a pretty specific use case for GPU rendering. None of the programs I use daily allow for GPU rendering of a finished product, so I can't speak to that end of it. What I can speak to is live rendering. Swapping to the Radeon VII just made everything that I was orbiting feel smooth as silk. Didn't matter the size or the view distance. This card is obviously a workhorse, and will be great for any 3D designer or 3D artist, provided the program supports GPU rendering. There are a lot of other reviews that speak to the benefit of using the 7 for productivity, and after my personal experiences, I'm going to take them at their word. That brings us to my final thoughts on this slab of silver sitting on my desk. This is a great card. If you're a gamer by night that has to do GPU-intensive work or content creation during the day, I don't think that there's a better card out there for you right now, not in this price range. If you're just gaming, however, the 2080 is king here. There's no question about it. Both cards have flaws, They both feel a little rushed, with the RTX series as a whole not implementing all of its features from the get, and still having growing pains with those features half a year later. The Vega series, back to the original, has well-documented thermal paste and cooler issues, and this card feels as though it was a little rushed as well, with a graphite pad being used as opposed to engineering a better solution. Could AMD have eked out a little more power and perhaps completely beat the 2080 if it spent a little more time on this? I'm not sure, but it certainly feels like it in my opinion. Also, will undervolting help the Radeon VII the same way it helped the first iteration of Vega cards? I think it will, with early testing showing promise, and homebrew water cooling mods showing decent overclocking headroom. Time will tell though, as we're just starting to see the first true blocks come on the market now. I assure you, if I can get one to test one in, I'll be doing it as soon as I can. Here's the rub though. You know what's the biggest thing preventing for me to just yell at you to buy one of these right now? The lack of add-in board partner cards. We witnessed this with the Vega 56 and 64, and it feels like it's just deja vu all over again with the Radeon VII. The stock card works for me, both in aesthetics and performance, but I'd love to see other options for other people. Most users don't want to throw a water block on their card. The fact that you can sometimes get up to 5% more performance, at a price premium to be sure, on an AIB air-cooled card that will likely run quieter than reference, is a big deal. Couple that with the constant stock issues, and you've got a hard sell for most people. So ultimately, do I recommend this card? Well, if you're in the AMD ecosystem and have a FreeSync monitor that isn't yet fully supported by NVIDIA, or you don't want to put your trust in a competitor always supporting that technology, yes. If you're a professional that is going to use one machine for work and gaming, very much yes. If you're just a gamer though, and all you want is frames, maybe? Listen, you're not going to be disappointed. Performance has improved with driver and BIOS updates since this was released. But in a world where the RTX 2080, and importantly, AIB 2080s exist, I can't recommend it outright.
So has my opinion changed at all? Not really, no. Not even after 5 months and updated drivers. Some performance has gone down, some performance has gone up, and it was all kind of within margin of error, so I didn't even feel that it was necessary to throw the graphs up there. The synthetic performance went down a little bit, and gaming performance went up a little bit in some cases, stayed the same in some other cases. I think that that's probably from drivers maturing for gaming and fan curves changing, if I remember correctly. I did some research. I remember seeing it previously. I can't find it right now. AMD tuned down the fan curves a little bit because of noise right after the launch. The real thing here, though, is, as I said earlier, there are better values for your money. The Supers have come out now, and they seem to be great values. Navi's coming out tomorrow. Hopefully that's a great value. We'll see once that actually launches. And more than anything, you only have a reference card here. So you can't even get a partner card that maybe ekes a little more performance out with a better cooler. If you want to put it underwater and you want to be at the very tip of the tier with AMD performance, that's pretty much the only reason to get this. If you just want to have the best of the best that AMD has to offer. But you're throwing your money at something that you could get equivalent performance or better performance for less money or equivalent money somewhere else. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed my particular brand of enthusiasm, please realize I am an enthusiast that is definitely still learning, and you should watch a ton of other reviews because I do not know a fraction of what most of the other reviewers do. But if you enjoyed what I had brought to the table, please consider subscribing. Check me out on Twitter, on Twitch, pop in my Discord. I'll throw links for all that stuff down below. And we'll see what happens with this new release and the new NVIDIA stuff that's coming out, and the new Intel stuff that I'm sure is down the pipe, and everything else that I want to review. If you have things that you would like me to take a look at as a kind of guy who kind of knows what he's talking about and is just really super interested in it, let me know. All right, thank you very much. I'm Matlock, and I'll see you later.